You might be wondering, what are similes? How could I have used them if I don't even know what they are? Similes are actually a way of comparing two things. We compare things all of the time. Look at this comparison. The baby sleeps like a koala. In this sentence, we're comparing the baby to a koala. What's the comparison? That the baby sleeps like a koala. This is a comparison. Well, a metaphor is a way of comparing two things. It's not the only way to compare two things, but it's a very interesting and creative way of comparing two things. You might have seen examples of metaphors in books and in poetry. And there's a really big chance that you use metaphors in your everyday speech. As you're speaking to people, we just use metaphors from time to time. And Bob loves using metaphors when he speaks to me. He loves comparing things in a really creative way. Metaphors are unique because they compare things without using the words like or as. And we're going to look at some examples. At first, they're going to look a little bit weird, but then you'll get the hang of it and you'll see how fun they are to use. Here's an example. Ben was a cheetah at the race today. Ben was a cheetah at the race today. We are comparing in this sentence Ben to a cheetah because he went so fast, and cheetahs are the fastest land animals in the world. So we're comparing Ben to a cheetah. It's a metaphor because we're making this comparison without using the words like or as.
Take a look at this tree. When the tree branches hit the window, someone can describe this scene like this. What about when a kite gets stuck in the tree? What about when the wind blows its branches? In each example, the tree acts like a person. This is personification. Personification gives human qualities to non-human things.
I know you heard of me. The best figure of speech, hands down hyperbole. I'm the one that similes yearn to be. I'm brighter than an Ivy University. I'm used universally, well maybe not quite. It might not be true, but it sure sounds nice. John Henry and Paul Bunyan both owe me a little something. Words have a literal meaning when they mean exactly what they say. And words have a figurative meaning when there's something more that they want to convey. That's me. I exaggerate, I make it seem bigger, better, more. I've been known to tell a tall tale or two, just to leave them in stitches like tailors do. Yeah, I pop up in pop-up bags and the cover of supermarket rags. No, the truth never bothered me. I'm hyper speed, hyperbole. Babe, the big blue ox could eat in one day all the feed one crew could toast to camp in a year. That's me. Hyperbole, hyperbole, exaggerate for effect, certainly. Build intensity and urgency, hyperbole. I know you heard of me, not hyperbole, hyperbole, exaggerate for effect, certainly. Build intensity and urgency, hyperbole. I know you heard.
The term dialect is used in two distinct ways to refer to two different types of linguistic phenomena. One usage, the more common among linguists, refers to a variety of a language that is a characteristic of a particular group of the language's speakers. The term is applied most often to regional speech patterns, but a dialect may also be defined by other factors, such as social class. A dialect that is associated with a particular social class can be termed a sociolect, A dialect that is associated with a particular ethnic group can be termed as ethnolect, and a regional dialect may be termed a regiolect. According to this definition, any variety of a language constitutes a dialect, including any standard varieties. The other usage refers to a language that is socially subordinated to a regional or national standard language, often historically cognated or related to the standard language, but not actually derived from it. In this sense, unlike in the first usage, the standard language would not itself be considered a dialect, as it is the dominant language in a particular state or region, whether in terms of social or political status, official status, predominance or prevalence, or all of the above. Meanwhile, the dialects subordinate to the standard language are generally not variations on the standard language but rather.
Guys, today we're going to talk about literary devices. In more specific terms, we're going to talk about repetition and why authors use it. Now, repetition is the repeated use of words or phrases in order to emphasize a point. Now, the beauty of using this type of literary device is that the pattern that it arranges the words into is nothing like ordinary speech. If we were to repeat something over and over again to somebody while we're talking to them, they're going to get annoyed really quickly. But when authors do it when writing, it's to bring our attention to a specific point in the passage. Now, when using the repetition, it helps to convey the message in a much more engaging and notable way. If they're going to repeat the same word over and over again, we're going to start to try and figure out, why are they repeating this? So when we're reading a piece with repetition in it, it's the balance where we as readers have to decipher and understand the underlying meanings. There has to be a reason why they're repeating the same word over and over again, or why they're repeating the same phrase over and over again, or why they're having the character constantly ask questions. Okay, it's our job as readers to decipher this and try and figure it out.
Literary device called allusion, or when you allude to something. So what is allusion? Allusion is a reference to a historical figure of significance, usually, and it's often used to state a complex idea in a little bit more of a simple way. I'll show you some examples of that, but just keep that in mind as we talk about it. A reference to a historical figure or a historical event, and it's used to make a complicated statement in a simple way. So here's an example. When you see this picture, does it make you think of something? An arrow in someone's heel. An Achilles heel. If you've ever heard of an Achilles heel. Achilles was a mythical figure. He was completely invincible except for his heel. When we refer to a person's Achilles heel, we are talking about their weakness. Someone may seem like they're invulnerable in all other ways, and we say, well, we have to find his Achilles heel. We need to find that one spot that he is vulnerable. All right, again, kind of a complicated idea combined into two words. Achilles heel has all of that meaning based in it. So you can make an allusion to all of that meaning just by using those, those two words. Here's an example. I've been doing well on my diet, but chocolate is my Achilles heel. So again, it could say I've been exercising, I've been watching what I eat, but chocolate's just...
This is your brain. This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. That's a kind of symbolism, and you understand it instantly. The egg represents, or is a symbol for, your brain. The pan is a symbol for drugs. The relationship between the two is that the drugs fry your brain. Pretty obvious, right? This is a kind of symbolism, and you already understand it. So a symbol is a thing that represents or stands for something else, usually something you can see or touch that represents something more abstract, the way a logo represents an organization or a heart represents a feeling. That's easy. But those are visual symbols. Symbols can be written in words, too. That's a little more interesting because it isn't as obvious as an egg in a frying pan. Not only that, you have to figure out yourself what the symbol represents. It could represent different things depending on how it's used. For example,